Is over loving kids detrimental? Like, so let me just elaborate a little bit. So you've seen, obviously under loving kids has, horrible consequences, but is over loving your kids, where, they can't do anything wrong, you give them everything that they want, is that detrimental?
Yes. Give them everything they want? Absolutely.
Absolutely meaning detrimental, or absolutely give them what they want?
Absolutely detrimental.
Okay.
As someone who has no kids, I believe I can speak with a tremendous amount of expertise on the subject.
Usually people without kids always have expert
I'm
opinion.
an objective observer. I see these relationships happen, these family dynamics. Well, here's the thing. If you give them everything, every time they want something, you give them and you give them, and you end up spoiling them, right? And then all their behavior, positive and negative, gets reinforced, right? It's not uncommon to see kids who get a lot of things turn out spoiled. But if loving them, over loving as a general term is, I don't think there's a problem over loving. It's how you do it, right? And you kind of touched upon that when you said you want to give them everything. You don't. You can love the crap out of them, but just prepare them for, a life of value and importance. Give them teach them, positive traits and good habits, right? Teach them, how to work hard, importance of studying, teach them things that are going to help them down the road. Sometimes it's tough love. You can't give them everything, right? You have to discipline them, right? You have to help them realize, their actions have consequence. So it's not, I don't think you just love them and say, here's everything, and I hope you grow up well. No, you've got to sort of instill that discipline and tell them that, okay, you can't, I love you so much, but I can't give you everything, right? I can't.
So let's talk about a different, so good point there on giving them everything they want. I think we can probably all agree, there's a challenge of giving them everything they want. How about never calling out their faults or misbehaviors, right? In other words, making them feel like they're a king or a queen at all times.
Man, that sounds just as bad.
Okay.
Even worse.
Okay.
Yeah. They go to school and they realize that, and you hear from their instructors, the teachers, that man, this kid is terrible. Why don't they have any discipline? You're like,
yeah.
You mean my sweet baby angel? Ugh, they don't need discipline. They're perfect the way they are. So you absolutely need to instill that in them.
No, I think by doing that, it's creating this sense of entitlement with these kids. So now when they go to school around other kids, it's going to be like, wait a second, at home, I can do anything I want, and they don't know the difference between that thin line where you can't. How can I explain this here?
So say they can't do anything wrong, right? In the sense that, as adults, when they grew up as adults, and they're in relationships, in a marriage or, in a relationship where their whole life, their mother or their father or both of them just told them that they're the best things since sliced bread. So your parents are blood related to you. You go into a marriage, the person you're married to, or, your partners with, or your business partner with, they're not related to you. And, you think you can't do anything wrong, but your partner says, well, hey, you have to earn that love or that respect, right? How do you think that happens? What do you think happens to people that were loved unconditionally and never called out, growing up? Have you guys seen examples of that where, they're so loved and,
They turn out to be Kanye West. I watched the Kanye, and as you're saying that, I watched the Kanye. He had a documentary or something, and I saw he was interacting with his mom, and he was asking her for feedback, and in that moment, she said something like, "Oh no, Kanye, you're perfect. Everything you did was perfect." And I remember thinking, there it is. That was that moment where his mom, and she loved him. She's a single mother and all that stuff. But she raised him up to believe that he could do no wrong. He's a king. And I get why she did that as a Black woman, a single mother raising a young Black man. that is a huge responsibility to prepare him for the world that he's being put into. But he's very talented, very creative. But I think it was that of, nope, you're just perfect, Kanye. Everything you do is right. And now that's the kind of mentality that he has. And I think that's an example from watching.
Kanye, it's a good example because I can see both sides where, well, you know what, you shouldn't be like him because of A, B, and C. But in my book, Kanye is a legend in my book because what he accomplished, how many human beings in the history of the world has reached his height?
Okay, so you're for then over loving your child.
No, I'm not. But I think that when you give them, there's benefits also. I think when you do love your child so much and you make them feel like a king, like I was watching a Netflix documentary and it was about I think the Florida Gators, and basically Tim Tebow, right? I don't know if you guys know him. He was a quarterback coming up the ranks. He didn't even play college. Like he was just basically a farm boy, and then basically he was drafted in the first round, I believe. Actually he was signed to the University of Florida football team, Florida Gators, I'm pretty sure, and basically. He had no practice. He didn't actually really play against it, but he was such a beast. But he said something that was really interesting. He said, like, when you have people that love you so much and raise you to think that you're a king, you actually start believing it, right? Meaning you know no boundaries, right? So I think there's some benefits also, right? I'm actually in the side of, there is detrimental effects when you're over loving your kids. But here's an example of if Kanye or Tim Tebow was just loved average, would they have been household names, right?
I mean, yeah, if your kid grows up to be an international rap icon or a
billionaire,
a millionaire quarterback, then I think maybe you did a good job.
Yeah,
but a lot of times, that doesn't happen.
it doesn't come without
those are
flaws.
isolated
Those are
situations.
isolated incidents.
But how do you
right?
balance it? Like, so there are benefits, of having like LeVar Ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like LaMelo Ball's child, father. He was saying something like, hey, most of you out there don't have fathers, and here's my father telling me that I can do anything in this life, right? How dare you knock my father, right?
But can he do anything in this life?
What's that?
But can he do anything? I keep hearing about this. He had his own shoe and stuff. Yeah. I don't even know who this person is. But I know people talk about him and his dad. But is he a great basketball player? Like,
well, so the first one wasn't, which was sorry.
The oldest one was.
Yeah,
he was
Lonzo
decent.
Ball.
He was decent.
Yeah, but the superstar is the youngest one, LaMelo Ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
okay. And he plays for an NBA team. Pardon my
But he's the one that
ignorance.
said that, where it's like, hey, a lot of you guys out there don't have dads, and here my dad is telling me I can do anything I want, right? I have the ability to do whatever I want.
Yeah. So then what happens when he gets told no?
No, it's
what
a good point.
happens when
pivots. He learns to pivot.
Well, some
people
don't.
know.
That's a talent, right?
Right? And that's the thing. Some people, if they hear no, they automatically shut down. But if you build them up to a certain level, they're going to be, okay, let me find a creative way now to either present it or you're going to say yes, right? And don't get me wrong, some people are going to be like, what do you mean no? And they become very arrogant, right? Thinking that there's a sense of entitlement based on, the way they're raised. So it's a balance, and every situation is very different. But for most people, like you said, you use those two examples, that's just an isolated situation. I feel like overloving, there's nothing wrong with overloving. You want to love your kids, let's be real. But with regards to not telling them when they're wrong and explain to them why they're wrong, that can have a damaging effect later on, when you're not around. Because again, these are situations, raise your kids to be their own men or, women. But at the end of the day, if you're not around, you want them to be able to navigate this life the right way.